Today's the 12th of August 2020. I'm out here. I'm going to do a bunch of things today, but one little thing I'm going to do here is an experiment. One of the challenges we have in Manitoba is by the time our colonies need to be split in the spring to mitigate swarming, it's early enough that we don't have local queens. It's difficult to get local queens early enough in order to make those splits and add the mated queens. So that necessitates import of a lot of queens from different places in the world. I think it would be really nice if we could manage somehow to have local queens, have Manitoba queens for our splits in May. I had an idea this year to use my mini mating nucs for that, but I want to make them a double. So instead of just the 5 mini frames, I want to do 5 mini frames over 5 mini frames, just to give them a little more expansion, let them build up a bit more, and let them carry a little more feed on board. These are made in a standard 10 frame box, a medium depth type box. And so there's 4 mini mating nucs here. 2 of these actually have queens. So these 2 have queens. They have queens and a nice little colony going there. I'll just show you some of the frames. So they've built these out nicely. I'll try to stay out of the sun. They're filling it with honey and nectar. The other frames are actually built out even more. Some of these are getting a little out of hand, but so there's a nice brood pattern. Young brood here. Young brood here. This queen is really doing a good job. Some nice fresh laying there and there as well. So she's on her way to a really nice healthy little cluster here. Eggs there. Eggs there. So this is going to be one of my test subjects. Put this one back in here. And this one as well. This one is in similar fashion. What I'm going to do here, I need to outfit these 2 before I finish this off, but this is the idea, to put a second quad on top, and that'll create 2, a double, medium, mini nuc. So that's what I'm going to do. I've got some frames here. I'm going to be picking some more nicely drawn frames for the others. Hopefully I can come up with enough and we can outfit this properly. Okay, so what I have here now is I have 2 queen-right nucs here. These are queenless nucs, however. I'm going to be introducing a queen to each of those. So I'm going to take this second and put it here. So there's a queen in this one. See eggs. I did see eggs there, so there should be a queen in there too. And I'll have to double check all of these in a few days, check for eggs, make sure everything's good. Okay, I've gone around my mating nucs here, and I've pulled every frame from every box. I've got a queen in each of these 4 nucs here. So we've got 5 mini frames. 5 mini frames. The vertical thing which the bees like for winter. They've got a lot of stores in here already, but they could get even more. And in my travels to do this, I came up with 2 more queens. So I caged those. I've got them here with my candy plugs. I'm going to make some splits here today, and we'll introduce those queens to the splits. They will reside safely in my pocket until such time. I'm going to put the lid on here. As they say, put a lid on it. So I'm going to do just that. Make sure the entrances are open. Put a brick on here to hold the lids nice and secure. nuke here. It's grown up to be more than a nuke. Into a 10 frame box, 2 10 frame boxes. They've actually got half of all of these boxes. There's 5 frames wide and 4 boxes high here. There's 5 frames, 5 frames, queen excluder, and then 5 and 5. So that should work perfectly into a 10 frame box. They'll be all confused for a minute, but the box will be right beside and they'll find home again pretty easily. So I'll move the camera down here and you'll be able to see what's going on. Okay, here you can see the box. I'm going to put these in and just put bottom board here and set it up on a box that's a little bit closer to that entrance. That's pretty close. They should find home just fine. And so I need to break this whole thing down and transfer all the frames into that box. And here we go. So because these are honey boxes, I need to unload these first and then get the brood boxes over here, then put the honey boxes on. I'll just set them here. That one's a little bit in it, but this one's full. I've actually put 4 honey frames in these 5, just as you would put 9 and 10, and they look really good. I'll show you one. That looks pretty good. Capping it up. Some nice honey frames. You know, a colony may or may not make lots of honey in its life or in its season, but you can just about depend they're going to make some. Again, with these really tight 5 framers. This is a nuke that had kind of a slow start, but you can see here a nice pattern. The other side looks similar, and everywhere in here is eggs. So this is the second round. This is emerging brood here. And so this has been right full of brood. This has emerged. She's laid that up again. So there's full of eggs. There is nothing wrong with that queen at all. These outside frames are generally right full of honey. That one is no exception to that rule. Again, this is a frame that has been emerged, and there's not a whole lot in it. But but this side is okay. You don't mind seeing that. You don't mind seeing that at all. Might as well keep going with the tour, eh? There's another one that's okay. And it's okay on that side. This side is emerged and it's right full of larvae again. She's doing her job. She's okay. She is okay. If I don't kill her in this maneuver, this colony's going to be just fine. People ask, do you like wood frames or the one-piece plastic frames better? I don't have much of a preference. I do prefer wood. But one time the plastic really shines is in these nukes because they're just a little smaller. A little extra space. So there's a bit of a pattern there. And something nice on that side too. I'm not really looking for the queen. No question in my mind, there's a queen in here. At least there was. And a good one too. And there's a honey and pollen frame. Another nice brood frame there. That's a lot of brood. You could almost make a split out of this thing right now. That's a lot of brood. Another one. It's both sides. So she hit the ground running when I put that other queen in here. Put this thing back on. double deep, ready to be harvested and then wintered. I gotta find the queen. My least favorite jobs. The killer. Boy, you make some nice frames of brood. There's the green one. In she goes. Okay, so now I got a green queen. I got a blue queen in this pocket. I have a few 3-frame nucs here. Call these my 3x3s. And I'm going to put these 3x3s in 6-frame polystyrene boxes. 30% chance of the queen being on the frame you're pulling. We've got some pretty nice brood here. If it was earlier on, I would put drawn comb between, keep the queen laying. There's the queen right there. So I can pause and mark her. She's a nice dark queen. The dark queens seem to be a favorite. Okay, Queenie, the gloves are off. Oh, see, you can't see what I'm doing here. Okay, she's marked. Okay, we'll keep that together. We'll put the other 3 frames outside of those. Okay, so what I've done here is I've taken a 3-frame nuc, put it in this box, caged the queen here. I've marked her, and then I went over to one of my old queens, the nuc that she was in. I took her out and I pulled 3 frames of brood out of there. So we're looking at nearly 6 frames of brood in here. That's a lot. But we're going into winter, so I think that'll be fine. That'll make a nice strong nuc build up for the winter season. I am thinking I want to cage this queen though, because I have 2 subsets of queens in here, bees in here. I'll see if I can show you how I do this. Look at my JZBZ cage. I'll snap it together and I'll get that queen to go right up in that hole there. And then I can put that cage in the nuc with this queen. And I'm just going to put this at the top here and then pull it back a little. Kind of block it with my finger. Hopefully you can see it. It's hard for me to see what you're seeing. I'll tip it this way. Queens like to go up. Look at that, she almost went up in there. But almost is not what I need. There she is. I inadvertently gave her a little push with the plunger and she just popped right up in there. There she is in the cage. And I'll just close the, shake her down. They want to go up, so let's let her go up. Close the little. And we have a nice 2020 caged queen. Put her in here. I'd just like to show you what I've been doing here today. We've been hunting down queens, and it's surprisingly difficult. I've got blue dots on these boxes where I've found the queens. So we did okay here. We found these three. There's three 5-frame colonies in these boxes. And look at the beard here. We're just going nuts on this one. But I've got two here I haven't found. And I've got one over there I haven't found. And the reason I want to find them, so you see I've got a queen cage in here. And these are fairly nice nucs. So what I'm doing is I'm taking these 5-frame boxes. So there's a 3-frame nuc in each of these 5-frame boxes. There's 5 frames in there, but anyway. So I'm taking that nuc. Like for example, I've taken this empty one, put in this box. And then I'm adding brood to them. I'm adding brood out of my, what I call my brood factories. See, I've taken this one apart. I've taken that one apart. There's one over here I've taken apart, and there's 4 more here. So we've gone through, I'll stand here so it's you can see from my shadow. You see NQ, no queen. We've taken the queens, either taken the queens out or we've killed them. And look at the bearding. That's incredible. And so there are no queens in these nucs. So we're just harvesting the last of the brood out of these. These are my old queens. So I took the queens out of some of these colonies, like this one. This one here. Look at this one here. I did this OTS, replaced the queen, and she's going crazy. Lots of honey, lots of brood. I'm very proud of that. Some of them not as much, you know. I've got a single over here that I requeened. So it's going good now. But that'll be a colony for next summer. This one as well. So there's also a nuc here. This was a good Kona queen. You can see there was some rain here. You can see there's water on some of these bottom boards. So there's brood in there. It can be harvested. Again, no queen. So I can take those frames, bees and all. I find the queen in the nuc and cage her. Stick the donor brood and bees in with these 3-framers. Boost them up, and that should make them nice and strong for winter. So that's what I've been doing here today. I've got 9 done. Actually, I've got a dozen done because there's 3 over there. I have some queens to find over here yet. I have 1 queen to find. The one in the middle. I haven't found the queen in there yet. So once I find the queen, I can add brood to that. And the apiary is an absolute disaster. Look, there's equipment everywhere. I hate that. But it takes a lot of energy to clean up too. So we'll clean up again someday when we're kind of getting done this project. Yeah, it became a real commotion out here. We had hives open, and there's robbing and changing things around, and bees don't know where they live. And they're figuring it out though. Looks like some of them are getting more bees than others. But I think it'll be okay in the long run. You know, they're still trying to figure out this one colony that's got nothing in it, this one hive. Oh well. Here too. So there's nothing in there, but they're still homed on it, so they're trying to get in there. And this one that I cleaned out, there's nothing in there. So they're sort of conglomerating on the other side. Yeah, it's a bit of pandemonium. Everybody's confused. They'll figure it out. So that's what's going on in my apiary today. I had to sit down on this beehive so you can see me. So it is the time of year where we need to start getting ready for winter. It's I think it's about the 16th, I believe, of August 2020. And so that's what I'm doing here with these. These are a couple oddballs in my apiary. The story behind these two, these are 6 frame boxes, so there's 12 frames in all here, in each one of them. And these were actually put together as part of my grafting project, my latest grafting project. And they suffered the fate of actually the same fate that my first builder suffered. So these were cell builders, and I did get a few queen cells from them. However, either I think this one, the queen, one of the virgins emerged in it, and I think this one had a virgin appear from elsewhere and tear down these cells. So I was pretty disappointed. My last round was almost a bust. But regardless, I believe these have ended up laying, so I've got a couple colonies. That's nice. And so I need to just check on them and see how they're doing. I think they're doing okay, but we'll check and make sure they're doing just fine. And I'm going to move those over into the boxes I'm sitting on. These are my 10 frame insulated wooden boxes on a 2-way pallet. So I would usually situate the new box behind the old box so that when I transfer all the frames and then I remove the boxes, I'll leave the bottom board there, because then the bees are quite confused. They don't know where to go. But from their old bottom board, they can smell the entrance of their new box. And you know, within 20 minutes, half an hour, everybody's good. Everybody's home, knows where they live now. These are the Paradise bee box polystyrene boxes. It's like anything, you know, they're good and they've got their downsides. It comes down to how you want to manage stuff. I got a bargain on these. I got a ton of them, so they're nice to have for special projects like this. Okay, so this is the second box. I'm expecting to, that bee won't let go, expecting to find a lot of honey here. The fact that they're glued right down leads me to believe I'll be correct that there's lots of honey here. There's lots of honey and eggs, so that frame will definitely go in the brood chamber. I'm expecting the outside to be all honey, and I am correct. We've got no queen excluder, so just take a quick look for the queen. If I see her, great. If I don't, then I'll need to shake everybody down into the bottom. Look at that brood. That's a good queen. See, that's a young queen. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you don't mind queens like that, do you? And this side is full of eggs. It's emerged and full of eggs. So that's just a quick glance. She's not marked. See, that's emerged and full of eggs. She's wasting no time. She's not marked, so if I find her, then I can mark her. Make her easier to find in coming days. And again, wow. Just a superstar queen. I don't mind so much that she ruined my cell builder. There's lots of brood there. I don't like this stuff on the bottom. You pull it out and it scrapes up the next frame. If your queen is there, then goodbye queen. And that's all young brood on that side. Emerging brood and all laid up again. Oh, I'm gonna have too much brood to go in the 10 frame. Yeah, too much brood. You can always put that above an excluder and let it emerge out over 3 weeks, but I'm a bit late for that. I'd like to have that emerged out before my harvest, which is only 2 weeks away. Not even. What was that? 10 frames of brood. That one has emerging brood, and there's no eggs. But look what's on that side. It's all full. It's beautiful. This is an old crappy frame. It's got nails for ears. Well, the fact I didn't see the queen means I need to shake everybody into here, which is not a problem. There's only 2 frames left. That's a honey frame. There's some pollen. Get the bottom box shaken in there. Weird to be putting a new queen excluder on 16th of August. Okay, so put the honey frames in there. They're marching back here. They're all fanning to show everybody where home is. Here's a little tour of my nuke yard. I made 15 of these nukes this summer with queens that I raised by grafting. So as you can see, some are doing well, and there's 3 more over there. So they've got 1 box on top. That one has 1 box on top. This one is 1 box. And if we come right back around here, where is it? There it is. So there are 0 boxes on top here. Didn't do so well. So these queens I don't think are performing very well. I don't believe I'm going to send these into winter. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go in there, find the queens, kill them, and then I will harvest that brood to boost other colonies. So if you don't want to watch somebody kill queens, then you might not want to watch this part. I don't like killing queens either. You just have to promote the best, right? Looks like a pretty healthy population in this one. If we can find frames that have no brood, we'll use those brood frames and boost these up a little. There's a honey frame, so that's a candidate. This one has a nice patch brood. Very nice. Very nice here. So we might just be able to absorb one of those frames in here. One might assume that most of the rest of it is brood, except maybe the last frame. There's a few bees here. I don't think there's enough to cause danger to the queen. So this one is sort of weak. Put that there for now. So we're down to, there she is. Room for 3 frames here. Look in this one before I fill this one with brood. Whoa, full honey. Very heavy. 3 here and 1 there. If not, some of you may not have seen this kind of thing before. And by this kind of thing, I mean this bottom board, this pallet, has 3 nucs on it. It has 3 nucs by 6 frames apiece. And you just saw me put a metal queen excluder on and then a 10 frame honey super. So what happens here is this honey super is managed by the 1 nuc below up to here. The nuc in the center manages this part of this super and this part of this super. It's about the 3 to 4 frames here. And then the rest of the frames on that side are managed by that colony on the other end. So this works exceedingly well. Your big consideration is that this queen excluder needs to go on. Some say it has to go on upside down. I don't know if there's a top and a bottom to those things, but you want to lay it on there such a way that the wires lay directly on top of the box where the boxes meet. And that's so that the queen cannot come up from that 1 nuc and stray across the divider to the other nuc. They'll fight and one of them will die. This way, the bees don't seem to mind. The processors, the honey stores, they don't seem to mind working with each other. They don't actually move across very much. If you have a colony, actually this colony is a bit stronger than this one, there's more honey over here than there is here. They'll mostly come straight up, and then this colony will manage these straight up. They don't cross over very much, but they can, and they don't mind that situation. One of the downsides to this, if one of these queens dies, the pheromone from the other queens is strong enough that the colony with the dead queen won't requeen. And most times they won't requeen because they've still got the queen pheromone. So that's a downside, I think, to this method. But otherwise, I really like it. It gives you a lot of flexibility for managing your nucs through the honey flow. I've got double 5 frame boxes. I can put a single 10 frame super on top. I can put a 10 frame super over top of 2 of my 10 frame boxes and put 1 stack in the middle. I used to do that. I don't do it anymore. So anyway, just mention that because some of you might not have seen that configuration before. There's a few more frames of brood over there to use up. So we'll check these. And look, these colonies look much stronger, don't they? So my suspicion is I won't have room for extra brood frames in these. This one looks a little testy. I've been stung already in the leg. So I was talking there a minute ago about this queen excluder, how you need to place it in an orientation. So here we've got the cross wires this way, and you can't lay that on there because then there's a gap that the queen could come through. You need to lay it so that these wires are on the bottom, so they lay directly on here, and it creates a barrier to the queen. Added the brood frame with a queen on it. Marked queen on that frame. And I happen to have 2 left in that last box. Wow, and it feels like they've made me some honey, which is awesome. We got 6 brood frames here. That's really nice. What do we have here? That's brood. And that's brood as well. One thing I've been doing quite consistently is using escape boards. And I've got 2 styles here that I'll show you. And each works just as well as the other. One is a commercially made unit, actually made by Lewis and Sons in Austin, Manitoba. Fine people and they make fine products. I make my own as a rule just because I can make my own rather than buying. But I do have a number of the Lewis and Sons escapes. So I'll talk about that one first. So this is what some people might call a conical escape. It has cones on the underside. So this is the correct orientation. It has a screen, a very large screen on each side, a little bit of a trough in the middle that leads to these cones on the bottom side. So the action is here that the bees find their way down this trough and into the cones and out below the screen. That's just as simply as it works. And they don't generally find their way back into the cone. And that's chiefly, 2 reasons. It's a small area, but they can sense the honey above them here. And so they try to get to the honey that way. They don't realize there's a labyrinth. They need to go into the cone and then up. So that's kind of the principle that they work on. I like this style better than the one I build, and I could build mine to follow suit. In that it's nice and deep. There's lots of space here for bees. The ones I have, they don't really have that kind of space, and I find that the bees just kind of pack up a bit. So you see that I put an arrow here, marker. And that's so that just my paranoia, I can set a yard. When I'm all done, I can go around and look at all the escapes, and I can see that there's an arrow from the outside. These are not so bad. You can kind of see that this is right way up because it has a separate shim on top, whereas the ones I build don't. So you can't see that difference with the type I build. And what I build are these. I've got a whole build video and whatnot as well in the wood shop. So I'm not going to go into too many details about dimensions, etc. I can link that video here. So this some people call a triangle escape or a Quebec escape. It's fairly plain on the top with just a hole. The size of that hole isn't that important. And then on the bottom, there's a triangular labyrinth of sorts, and so the bees would come down through the hole and find their way out through the labyrinth. And again, with the screen, then they can sense the honey up that way, and they don't figure out that they need to go through the labyrinth backwards to get to the honey. So that's basically how they work. When I build my next round, I'm going to build them deeper, so that they're more like the Lewis escape in that way. I think that would help them work even better. I also don't use number 8 cloth on mine. I'll use a window screen, an aluminum window screen, because I find that number 8 cloth, they get kind of backed up in here, and then they start sticking their head through the number 8 hole, and they get stuck in there, they can't get out, and they'll die. So this one, correct orientation is this way, and And again, I've got the marker arrow, and that's what I put in this hive here. So I did this yesterday. I normally leave them 2 nights for the bees to migrate down from the honey super into the brood chamber. I run a queen excluder during honey flow, but once you put this on, then you take that queen excluder off, put that directly on top of the brood chamber. This works if you're running doubles, that's fine. Just put it on top of your second brood chamber. So I'm curious to see if there are any bees in here this morning. This has been maybe 36 hours this has been on there. I'm going to have to check, aren't I? So this would be pretty well ready to harvest. There's a few stragglers here. There's always that one kid that doesn't kind of get with the program, right? I'll pull this. We'll see what's on the bottom. So there's really not a whole lot in here. Now I'm not saying this is a frame that I should be harvesting. This hive is a little different situation, so a lot of this honey won't be harvested, but I needed to clear these. And we have to move this hive soon. So I needed to clear the bees out so I could take this second box away. So that I could harvest that. That's good honey. Well, I would say success on that. So I'm likely going to actually take this box now rather than wait another night. So there's a few stragglers here. I can see down through the bee escape, and there's certainly a lot of bees down in there. Okay, I'll put this back together, and then I'm going to come and get that in a little bit. I've got my Backsaver 6100 here. This is a good machine made by a guy in Winnipeg. I can put a link in the description if you're interested in them. They're not cheap, but the good thing is they're not cheap. And this thing will lift probably 500 pounds or more. Just as easy as that, push of a button. You've got that heavy deep of honey. I've got my little honey pellet here, you can't see, and I can just lower that right on there. So there it is, a clear box of honey there. Give you a bit of a closer look at this, what I call Backsaver 6100. And some of you might get the little joke there. If you do, say so in the comments to see if you get it. So this is a quality built machine. This is an entirely galvanized frame. And the parts that are not galvanized is the lifting mechanism, the part that actually grabs onto the boxes, and that's actually stainless steel. It's a very high quality machine. It runs off a little battery down here at the bottom, and there's this power switch and a voltage meter so you can see how it's doing. I've never charged it because in behind the belt here is a little solar panel, and that keeps it charged the whole time. I've used it all day. I can lift 4 deeps off of over 30 colonies in an afternoon to set escapes, and the voltage never drops below about 12.5 volts. As mentioned, it'll lift hundreds of pounds. You don't want to lift too much because after all it's a 2-wheeled unit. You have to control that weight, and it gets unwieldy as there's no fault of the machine. It's just simply very heavy. So electric winch and just a simple thumb switch here to operate it. The wheel stance is decent. It doesn't seem to tip side to side easily. I find the handles sufficiently high, but I guess he's worked out the geometry. I'm 6'4" and I find them high. The man who builds them is not nearly as tall as I am, so I'm a bit mystified as to why he made them that high. So I guess it must be something necessary. I'll raise it up here. So what you do is you adjust the arms side to side. You can turn the arms for storage, you know, for transport, whatnot. I've bent that arm a little bit. That's quite intentional. And then you loosen one or both. You size them for your boxes, which there's a guide here, so that should be about the width of your box. And then as you lower down, the grabber goes down the side of the box and drops into the handle. This will work with cleat handles as well. There's no problem there. So yeah, very handy, big time back saver. And what more can I say? You've seen it operate here, lifting these deeps. Lifting one deep is absolutely nothing for this. I have lifted 4 deeps full of honey. It's a bit of a load, but it does it. And the problem there is not the machine so much as just me being able to control that. So there you go, Backsaver 6100. I'm thankful for it. Of course, like almost everything in beekeeping, there's many ways to do things. People ask, what's the best way to do this and what's the best way to do that? And you know, I've come to realize that the best way to do something is the way that has the downside that you can put up with. Because everyone has a downside. Everyone has an upside. So you use whatever method you want. You know, you try different methods. You learn from other beekeepers. I'm a firm believer in the old saying that a smart man learns from his mistakes and a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So learn from other people. You know, there's a reason you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you talk, at very least. I run singles. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the last box of honey off of this single. They'll have some honey in the brood chamber, but this is kind of one of the critical times running singles is you don't want to let them sit like that very long. Once I take those off, I need to have a plan to clear this yard of honey and then feed everybody. I've got my syrup pails ready. I've got my patties ready. I put a patty on as well. There's really not that much in this box. And there certainly are no bees in it. So that fume board worked really well. I didn't need the Backsaver even. Okay, gotta muscle it. So you knew if I tried to make a video how to use that thing. You can see lifting 4 deeps, just the way the grain ran on that box, it broke the handle out of it. It didn't go through, so it's still okay to sit there. So have fun. good haul today. Got the tractor loaded back up. I'm pooped. Those guys really worked hard though. They lifted all the boxes. The bees are just feverishly trying to get into that honey. Sometimes they are. There's the odd crack. So I need to get strapped down and get out of here. About 28 boxes left out there. I have to come another day.